Hi, I'm Danielle Mills Walden, retired professional tennis player, author of best-selling memoir Scratching the Surface, and you are tuned into According to Portia.
Hello and welcome to Booked and Brilliant. My name is Portia Monique. Today we're sitting down with former Women's Tennis Association professional player, best-selling author, times two, and mindset strategist Danielle Mills Walden, a woman who's gone from competing in the world's biggest stages to helping high performers redefine success beyond the scoreboard. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Portia, for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I am so very excited to have you as well. And I want to jump right into your book because you are releasing a book called Scratching the Surface. And I want to know all about it, right? Especially as a former elite athlete. What does Scratching the Surface mean to you? And why did you name your book Scratching the Surface?
It's so funny you asked me that because this title I've had in my mind since I was a little kid. Honestly, I was 10 years old and I always had this thought that I'm going to write my story. And I always knew that I wanted my story to be called Scratching the Surface because to me, that gives me the vision of somebody who has not reached their potential yet and as I'm scratching the surface of hitting that next level, that next milestone marker, that's how I always have felt even back then. And even today, I feel like I'm still scratching the surface on what could be. And that's for anybody who's trying to push themselves past their potential.
I love that. Now, you are an elite athlete and you spent your childhood training at IMG Academy and you later competed on the WTA tour. Looking back now, what did that environment teach you about excellence that most people outside of elite sports will never fully understand?
Wow, there's been so many things. Honestly, it just comes down to being surrounded by so many young, talented individuals from all different countries around the world who all have the same goal of being excellent in their craft. That was so huge for me. It just helps shape your entire mindset because everybody around you is striving to be the best and they're working super hard and there's no distractions. And just being in an environment where your entire day is structured and scheduled and disciplined and all of those little key things that we were learning back then has truly helped me in the future. But ultimately, I'd say the proximity to greatness, being surrounded by so many elite athletes from all different countries and all different sports was ultimately the key factor.
I love that for you. Now, in Scratching the Surface, you talk about identity shifting that happens when the competition stops, right? So, for someone who has been so regimented, you had schedules from the time that you were 11 at IMG, and you spent your entire life chasing goals. What does that moment of reinvention really feel like for you?
It was big to have to go from your entire life was one thing, which was being a tennis player, to be faced with, okay, what is next? And one of the things that they tell players while they're still competing is you can't have a plan B. You can't have the next thing because that takes your focus off of what you're currently doing. So for so many athletes, when they're faced with that moment of what am I going to do next, it is absolutely terrifying and it scares them. But for me, I think ultimately when I knew I was going to walk away from the sport, and I knew this because in my mind I had been planning my retirement about 2 months before it actually took place. I didn't tell anybody about that, but I knew in my head that it was going to be ending. I started thinking about, okay, what are some things that I'm good at and what am I passionate about? And I've always been very big into mindset and into communication. So I knew if I retired from the sport, I wanted to get into those things. But I'd be lying to you if I said it was easy to envision myself being anything other than a tennis player because that's what my identity was. But now I find so much pride in the other things that I'm doing today and how I'm helping people and working with others. And everything that I've done through tennis is still rooted in everything that I do. So it's still coming
Yeah.
with me. But ultimately, my identity today is being a mom. Like that's probably the greatest thing that I have. And then everything I'm doing with mindset and with talking to people and all those things.
Yeah, yeah, being a mom is definitely one of the greatest rewards until I get old. And then you then you be like, no, I ain't got no more money. But I'm
Well,
digressing.
I'm in the thick of it now. I got a almost 2 year old. So we in the early stages where now mommy is still fun and cool. So
Yeah,
I'll take that. But I know that I definitely am looking forward to the future because it's gonna
yeah.
it's gonna happen fast.
Yeah, enjoy that part because it's definitely the loving, fulfilling part.
Yes.
Absolutely. Now, your story challenges the idea that success is a straight line, right? How did failure and or the perception of failure shape the woman that you are today?
Wow. I failed so many times throughout my career. And even as I go back and look at my record and my stats, like I've had so many key losses that I've experienced. And when I was going through them in the moment, it was very, very tough. And it made me put a lot of pressure on myself. But what I'm so thankful for in all those experiences, with every loss, with every setback, every obstacle that I had to face, it required me to work on aspects of myself that I was able to sharpen and make stronger and make better. So I'm so glad that early in my career and throughout my career, I experienced a ton of different obstacles and setbacks. One being having to have double knee surgery and be truly injured for almost a year and have to rehab and recover and come back. But it gave me so much of my drive and my focus. And it taught me that, an obstacle is only one piece in time. You can use that to propel you forward. And ultimately it makes you that much more appreciative of the
Yeah.
craft that you're doing. So for me, that was probably the biggest thing is it taught me just to appreciate the journey of all of it.
Mhm. Mhm, mhm. And in that downtime when you did have to go through the double knee surgery, what was your focus? What were you working on? How did you get through that? Not only physically, because I can't imagine double knee replacement surgery, but also mentally when you couldn't get up and indulge or and convene to the regimented the structure that you had.
Ultimately, I really focused like on the really small things, like brick by brick. I kind of made goals for myself. I would, talk to my physical therapist and they would give me kind of an outline of, okay, on day 15 of this recovery, you should be doing this. On day 30, you should be doing this. So I basically took like what I should be like at the end and I worked backwards.
Mm,
So what I tried to do was focus on little small things that I could do myself in my control every single
mhm.
day to help build off of that to get me to when I could walk again, then
Yeah,
to when I could start jogging again inside of a pool, then to when I could actually start running again. And literally it was all those small steps that I was taking that made me get better, but I had to think about just what was in front of me. I could not think too far in advance of
yeah.
what could happen because then it would make me lose sight on what I'm currently experiencing. And that would make me depressed if I thought about, oh my gosh, I can't even like walk right now. Using a walker, I'm in a wheelchair, so like I had to think about, okay, I'm just going to do this small exercise today with my physical therapist. And, I'm just going to try to do the best I can with that. And then I'm going to build off of that. And I had to stay in the present moment. That's all I could do.
Mm, yeah, well, we definitely commend you for being able to get through that, especially at such a young age.
Mhm.
And it was such a dark time for you, and you couldn't even walk.
Mhm.
Yeah, but here you are today, very accomplished, doing what you do, author. And after experiencing that injury, did your definition of winning change? And if so, how so?
I would say yes. My definition of winning did change because initially I only looked at wins as like the scoreboard. Did I win the match? Did I win the tournament? Did I beat the opponent? I looked at a win like did I get up? Did I run? Do I have pain? Do I have pain in my knees? And for so many years I had excruciating pain in my knees and I didn't know why. And everybody around me told me it's in my head. It's not
Mm,
real. And it was such a blessing when I finally could convince somebody to get me an MRI to see that both of my meniscuses were torn so that I knew that it wasn't me that was just making up some excuse. It was legitimate. So to finally recover from a surgery of something that I experienced and to be back on the court and not feel pain for the short period of time that I didn't experience pain until the next injury came, that was a blessing. And just, those are the small wins that I carried through.
I love that. Now, many people see athletes only through the lens of their performance, what they can do when they can do it. What do you wish that audiences, especially those reading your book, understand about the human being behind the athlete?
That the human being is putting a ton of pressure on themselves. And from an extremely young age, the amount of additional pressure that athletes put on themselves just to be the best they can be is extremely intense. And then the amount of sacrifices that they're making every single day. Whereas, maybe somebody normal or, regular person is just like, okay, I'm just going to go out to this party, or I'm going to go visit a friend, or I'm going to take this drink, or, do something like that, where that athlete, for years, it took so much rewiring of my brain to even do some of the things that most people would consider to be normal, because for so many years it was like, you're not allowed to do this. There's all these rules and regiment in our structure and in our upbringing that, it took a long time to kind of strip some of that away just to kind of feel normal. But that we are human. And, while we are so hyper focused on one thing and so specialized on one thing, in order to do that, it causes you to have areas of opportunity in other realms. Because if you're
Mhm.
so hyper focused on being an elite athlete in, let's say, tennis, maybe you won't have the best communication skills, or you won't be the best friend, or you won't be. So there's some things that you may be lacking in because you're trying to be the best at this. So give some athletes a little bit of grace as they are navigating, because their whole life was dedicated to one thing. When that thing goes away, then that gives them an opportunity to kind of open their eyes and remove the blinders and be like, oh, there's a whole world out here. Whereas
Yeah.
for so many years, this is the only thing that I would focus on and know, and you couldn't tell me anything else because I didn't care. And there's an aspect of selfishness there, which is, it's actually okay because you need that to be successful, but it does require a person to have to grow to get out of that.
Hmm. Now, a lot of what you're talking about, I'm interpreting it as having as mindset, right? And so for
Yes.
you, one of the things that you push in your book is having a champion's mindset. What is the biggest misconception that people have about actually what it takes to sustain excellence and have that champion's mindset?
Hmm. The biggest misconception is that you're born with it. I would argue that a champion's mindset can be taught, it can be learned, and it can be trained. Your mind is a muscle. It is something that you can work on every single day to make it stronger. A good exercise I like to help people with is, like, let's say you are terrible at waking up early in the morning and you just don't want to do it. And you kept saying, oh, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it tomorrow. And you keep putting it off. If you can force yourself to just do it one time, and you can teach your brain that you're able to do it one time, it builds off of that and it gets a little bit easier each time you do it. But most people, they make a goal so big and it's so far away from them that they don't even have the ability to start. And your mind is what allows you to start. So I would say that if you think about your mind as a muscle that is like in the gym that you can train every single day, it's going to get stronger and it's going to be
Yeah.
better.
Hmm.
So ultimately, I would say that that's a big misconception, that it is you're just born with this great mindset. No, I
Yeah.
wasn't born with it. I was trained from an extremely young age to have a champion's mindset, which the biggest thing is, like, that I would say with mindset is, you got to control what you can control. And if
Hmm.
you allow yourself to not focus on the things that are out of your control, it will open up your life. That's like
Mm.
my mantra for everything is, like, focus on what you can control and
Yeah.
leave the rest.
And in addition to that mantra, give us three more practical steps that someone, an athlete, elite athlete, someone in high school, someone who's training, how can they build that champion's mindset in a practical, slow, baby steps type of way?
Yeah, I mean, number one, I think that you have to be very intentional about your goals. So, number one, like, what are you trying to achieve? And write it down. Put it down on paper so that you can place it somewhere and you can see it, and write it down and you can make it small. So that's number one, is get really intentional about what your goals are. Number
Mm-hmm.
two would be get rooted in gratitude and start writing down things that you're grateful for every morning, 5 to 6 things that you are absolutely grateful for, because if you start each of your days with gratitude, it will allow the rest of your day to come together. And then, third, what's the third thing that they can do to get themselves to the next level? Be extremely coachable. If somebody is willing to see an aspect of your game or to critique an aspect of you, take what you want from that coaching, and you can leave what you don't like from it, but always be receptive of feedback and coaching.
Yeah.
Because if somebody's going to take the time out of their day to give you feedback, just know that value that. You don't have to value everybody's feedback because then that could make you go crazy, but
Um,
be open to the coaching that you're being received.
yeah. Now, where can we find the book? All Sage Advice, All Expertise Advice. I hope you guys were writing this down. Where can we find the book? Where can we purchase it? And also, where can we follow you on social media?
Okay, so the book is available everywhere on Amazon, which is like the mecca of where to get everything. But it's also available on like Barnes and Noble, Books a Million, any bookstore you can think of is available online at those sites. It will be available on my website as well. But I think Amazon is the easiest place to get it. And as far as where you can follow me, I am Danielle Mills Walden on all social media. And I encourage you to connect with me on LinkedIn, follow me on Instagram and on X, and I look forward to connecting with all of you.
I love it. Thank you.